Hello, it's Monday, February the 2nd. This is the second day of how to conquer your Jericho. We all have Jerichos. And how do you conquer your Jericho? In Joshua chapter 5, verse 2, it says, "At that time the Lord said to Joshua, make flint knives and circumcise the Israelites again." You know, you read that verse and you go, so you better read the other verses before it and after to see what's going on. The Israelites have come from Egypt. They brought by Moses out of Egypt to the promised land. They refused to go to the promised land because of the giants there, so they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. And now they've come back to the promised land, and they are getting ready to go into battle with a lot of different nations that are there in the land of Canaan. We have battles. We all have battles. And you have to get ready physically, but you also have to get ready emotionally and sometimes spiritually for battles. We have battles that we fight. What battles do you fight? Unforgiveness, addiction, lust, rage, sexual immorality, others. There's all kinds of battles that we fight every day. And some of these battles are physical and some of them are more spiritual. What do we have to do to get ready to fight them? God is preparing the Israelites to fight their battles. And they're going to be physical battles, but he also sees the spiritual aspect, and that's what he's preparing them for. They've come to the promised land. They are on the east side of the Jordan River. He stops the river. They go across on dry land. Now, these people in Jericho and in the land of Canaan, they've heard the stories of crossing the Red Sea. They've heard the other miracles. They've heard about now crossing the Jordan River at flood stage. And so now the Israelites have crossed the Jordan River. They're in the land of Canaan, and they're heading towards Jericho. They're just outside of Jericho. And the people from Jericho know that. And they're afraid of them. Now is the perfect time to attack, right? That's not God's plan. He tells Joshua right here, he says, make flint knives and circumcise the Israelites. See, during that 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, in between trips to the promised land, you have children have been born, boys have been born, they've grown up, and they were not circumcised. They're getting ready to go into battle against these nations. And God's going to give them the land, but there's going to be a battle. And what God is, he said, okay, I've instructed them earlier to be circumcised. These have not been circumcised, so we're going to stop now and we're going to circumcise them. Now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because you're in the enemy territory, and now you're going to circumcise your men. I mean, if any time for the enemy to attack, that would be the time to attack. Of course, the enemy doesn't know what's going on. But why not attack the enemy right then while the enemy's afraid? But no, God says we're going to be ready spiritually before we go into physical battle. So that's what they're doing there. Back in Genesis 17, God instructed Abraham to have the Israelites circumcised. And it was to be a sign between them and God. And so God says, okay, we're going to be ready spiritually before we go into battle physically. We have to do the same thing. Sometimes we go into a battle against things in our mind, another person, and maybe we have a disagreement with another person, but we've got to be spiritually ready to go into that battle because we're going to incur things in that battle that's going to maybe cause us to lose our temper. And if we're spiritually not well, we're probably not going to handle things well because we all have temptations. There was a boy in school. His teacher was watching him one day, and he was incredible at math, but he couldn't spell worth a hoot. But there was a girl sitting next to him that was an excellent speller, and so they're having a spelling test, and he doesn't know how to spell these words, but he can see her paper, so he's reading off of her paper, and the teacher notices this. And so when they finished the test, the teacher didn't say anything, but they finished the test, and they're she sends one of the students around to collect the papers. And when the student comes to this boy, he almost with tears in his eyes, he says, "I don't have a paper." And the teacher realized that he knew he had cheated and he knew that it was wrong. So rather than get a good grade by cheating, he decided to take a 0 and not cheat. She had him stay after class, and she told him how proud she was of the decision that he had made. Here he had a battle. The battle was, do I cheat or do I not cheat? Well, he cheated, didn't he? Yes, but he got to the point where he said, no, I cannot do this. And and that's where we get to. Are there things in your life, maybe you've done something, or I've done something that we wish we hadn't have, and now we need to win this battle. We need to win this war. We've done something we shouldn't have, but now we have a chance to make it right. Spiritually, we've got to be ready. Spiritually, we have to be strong in order to do that. This boy had to be strong to say, no, I'm going to take a 0 rather than cheat. Is there something in your life that you need to get to that point? I've had to give some thoughts to my life. There are some things that I need to do differently, and there are. We're going to have battles. Physically, we need to be ready, but just as important to be ready spiritually. Are you ready spiritually? How do we get ready spiritually? Spend time with God. Spend time with God. Let Him talk to you, and let the Holy Spirit guide you in what to do. Have a good day.